Mr. Speaker, it is the high time that we ask the Senate to be accountable to the Constitution and to the rule of law.
Kenan.
Mr. Speaker, I'm glad that Honorable Otieno Amolo, who was part of the drafters of the current Constitution, I believe still has some of the notes that led to the inclusion of the Senate in the current Constitution, Mr. Speaker. The Senate that I had in mind, the Senate that came later on towards the tail end of the sitting we have had in Naivasha, and the Senate that I see right now are completely different. And luckily, I'm speaking from experience, because the Senate that we have had in the first Bomas draft, the Senate that ultimately that will help in including the current Constitution, and the Senate that I see are completely different. The only thing that brings this to the fore, Mr. Speaker, there is an attempt to illegally create a constitutional niche that doesn't exist for the Senate. The Senate is our house, it's one of the houses of Parliament. You can be here today as a member of the National Assembly, tomorrow you'll be a senator. We do not want to badmouth them. It's our house, you have been there. It's a respectable house. But I think one thing that we will not accept is to create an avenue for chaos. The technical people at the ministries, whether they are PSCs, CSCs, and COs, Mr. Speaker, are operating in a very difficult environment. And I'm glad that the leader of majority today has spoken about this. Mr. Speaker, it is the high time that we ask the Senate to be accountable to the Constitution and to the rule of law. And that is not, Mr. Speaker, a sign of weakness. It's a sign of nobility and adherence to the rule of law. If today, by the grace of God, and the Speaker, even in our own villages, the person who has the power of the purse, the person who has the power of firing, the person who has the power is the ultimate authority, even in our homes. And therefore, the National Assembly, you have the power of the purse. You have the power to sack and fire. The only thing that is missing, Mr. Speaker, is the flair. And the leader of majority, Mr. Speaker, I want to address him, Mr. Speaker, because he is the appointing authority to so many chairs of committees. And I'm not in any way demeaning. When you sit on your job because of the fear of the unknown, somebody outside there runs away with your mandate. When they run away with your mandate, we run around and say the Senate has run away with our mandate. We want the chairs of committees. Don't be afraid of the leader of majority. Don't be afraid of the leader of minority. Don't be afraid of the whip. Function in line with the mandate of that committee. Even where you want to assist the government, Mr. Speaker, you can still do it within the confines of your mandate. But here we are, Mr. Speaker, today, even issues that are within the confines of the National Assembly committees are being adjudicated, Mr. Speaker, in the Senate, simply because our members have failed to discharge their mandate. That must be addressed. Mr. Speaker, the other bit. You see, right now, this house is being bashed. And I'm glad that you are here. You have seen it. You have been a senator. You have been in the judiciary. You have been in the executive. You are now here. Tomorrow, God knows what you will be. It is the high time that you guide these houses, Mr. Speaker. Guide these houses to a path, a constitutional path that will respect the mandate of the Senate, that will also respect the mandate of the National Assembly, that will not create. I know over the last 2 years, you have been attempting to avoid that jurisdictional conflict between the Senate and the National Assembly. But this must be reciprocated, Mr. Speaker. It's not coming. I know you have tried. I know there is a bill. What we are approaching right now, Mr. Speaker, is madness. We expect respect. We expect reciprocity. We expect tolerance from our colleagues so that whoever is a senator also knows that there are colleagues here who have the constitutional mandate to do certain things. Mr. Speaker, finally, on this, we have gone through this constitution for the last 10 years. You remember when we were passing, we said 80% was a good constitution. And I remember the words that we used, 20% were lethal. It is time to dissect, go through the 20% that is not helping us in any way, and do away with it and make a constitutional change. Honorable Otieno Amolo and the other legal brains and many others should come forward and bring an amendment. It's not cowardice. It's not naivety to bring those amendments so that we have a country that is run in line with the constitutional provision and everybody respects the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. I beg to submit that this thing, just as Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah has said, the CSCs and the other groups outside there, if you are being forced to execute an illegal mandate, refuse, nothing will happen to you. And that is where we are headed.